What a
Well, hey everybody. My name is Jared Malat. I'm here with my good friend Mateo Calise, and this is the Coltist, your Indianapolis Colts and Indiana Pacers podcast. Hey man.
what is this
Hey.
like? Episode 9? I
No,
believe
I
it's
think it's six.
6, season 2, episode
Season two,
3. Yeah,
episode
I'm all
six.
over the place.
So about Anthony Richardson. Yeah, because last week it was let's talk about Anthony Richardson, right? And then now, obviously, the big news for the Colts. Anthony Richardson's been put on IR for the year, set to have shoulder surgery. That was pretty much announced this morning by none other than Jim Irsay on Twitter.
So yeah, that's a certainty.
Yeah, that was made very very clear by Jim Irsay this morning, and then
Hmm.
um, we talked about how it's really difficult to be a Colts fan.
Yeah, you
You
can't
can't
have
have nice,
anything nice.
can't have anything
It
nice,
just
man.
seems like we have, we have it for what was it against the Rams and 2 or 3 drives against the Titans. That's it. Damn, have to wait, another 11 months before we watch it in regular season action again. So yeah, obviously the thing, with that injury is that it took out all the excitement, from this year because even if, Richardson was not good, I mean, we said it, at least it's gonna be entertaining. With Minshew, I just, I'm not looking forward to the Colts game on Sunday. I'm like, oh yeah, it's like last season. We are like, oh hey, we're playing again. Okay, here we go. I'm not seeing it like what we saw against Jacksonville was just depressing. Like it
Yeah,
was bad to watch. The final score is much closer than what the game was. I mean, that game was basically over by the half. I mean, you already knew at the half, like, hey, it's not gonna be a win today. I
right.
mean, Minshew is better than Matt Ryan and then Nick Foles, and then Sam Ellinger, he's better.
Mhm.
But we also have the news that Grover Stewart's out for the next 6 games because of PED violation. And
Yeah,
it's just like the hits keep on coming and coming and coming, and you're like, hey man, like haven't we been punished enough?
right. And that's the thing. So my questions, of course, would be, did it ever cross your mind that the Colts were going to be really good this year? Did any, did you, have you seen anything, and this is including Anthony Richardson, that led you to believe like, oh, this year's the year?
Nah, yeah, like nowhere close to that.
No.
Like I never thought we were gonna be real good,
Mm-mm.
but wait a minute, just a second.
Just sit here and think about it. It's funny about Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, there we go. I'm really sorry,
No, you're fine.
my brother had to take. So, like, yeah, I never thought we were gonna be competitive this year.
Mhm.
Like, if you had told me, the chances of us making the playoffs before the season started, I would have said, close to zero. Like, I
Yeah.
wasn't expecting the Colts to be in the position they were in,
Mhm.
entering into at least week 5, before AR was out.
Yeah.
But I did expect them, it was, I mean, what sucks is that, as I was saying, it was entertaining. Like, even the loss against the Rams, I left that game and I was thinking like, okay, hey, it's nice being a Colts fan right now. Like it's entertaining. We have a franchise quarterback. We have a guy that can, erase a 23-point deficit, out of the blue,
Mhm.
just 3 drives. He can, boom, 40 yards, then a
Yep.
30-yard scramble, and you score. With Minshew, it's like you don't have that. I mean, we saw that. We saw that he doesn't have the deep ball. He doesn't have the athleticism. And he's gonna get, 2 or 3 good drives perhaps game where the quick passes are hitting and the receivers are getting open. But in the end, if it's like it happened, if you go down by more than double digits, you're not coming back. You're not coming back with a guy like Minshew at quarterback.
No.
And it's just that, it's just not entertaining. That's the main issue with me, and that's the thing that bothers me the most. Like after a year of yeah, and I think that the words are sitting through, because last season it was sitting through. It was getting on the couch and saying, "Hey, we are most likely going to lose this game."
Yeah.
Like, yeah, decent chance we're losing, and a decent chance that the product we see on the field is not good.
Right.
Like, we don't get anything going on offense. The defense not great. Not much entertainment. And after just 5 weeks this season where you're like, hey, it's a good season. It's gonna be a fun year. I
You're
mean,
right.
we might not make the playoffs. I mean, we
Mhm.
might not win the division. We might not make the playoff, but at least it's gonna be entertaining. Like, at least we're gonna get a chance to watch this new young quarterback that can run, that can throw the ball 60 yards on the field with ease. And suddenly, we we only got what, like 10 quarters of that. What was it, like 3 quarters against the Rams? The entire game against the Rams. Three
Except for like
quarters against the
play.
Jags week one.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then against Houston, what was it, like just a quarter?
Mhm.
So you're like, hey, just got like 2 games worth of that.
Yep.
And now you're suddenly like, hey, this new thing you have, this new thing you have to be excited about, your new franchise quarterback. Yeah, you'll get a chance to see him again next year in 11 months.
Mhm.
You're like,
Can
hey,
you
that,
can you imagine, first of all, his development in 11 months? Ooh, people are in
yeah,
trouble.
hopefully, yeah.
Because thing about it is, I don't know about you, but my next question after, did you think they was gonna win it all this year? Is is Anthony Richardson the man? Because
Nah,
it
yeah, I think,
he
yeah,
he looked like the man to me.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
even to put it into perspective, I think that even if let's say the Colts end up with the number one overall pick and Caleb Williams declares for the draft, I'm keeping Richardson. Like, I'm happy with him. I'm trading that pick away to a team that needs it, and I'm a roll with Richardson.
because Richardson wants part ownership of a team. And we can't be giving away part ownership of a football team to a quarterback that we can see, even a perfect athlete like Anthony
Yeah,
Richardson is not bulletproof. Dang it. And I'd heard a couple colleagues, and I won't name names, say that the Colts have enough talent between Minshew and the defense to win a few games. And I
yeah,
think that's a farce. And
yeah,
before we started recording, I kind of looked at some numbers because I like to make sure that I'm on the side of the math. And the math says like the Colts are a bottom 10 unit in the NFL, or like on the
yeah,
verge of being a bottom 10 unit in the NFL in like every major category. The only thing going for the Colts is that they're in the upper half in sacks on defense. So they don't force the other opponent to turn the ball over. They do get some sacks. Um, Other than that, they're gonna get beat a lot.
yeah,
It's hard for me. I have to now think, because we don't have Anthony Richardson to run away. I now have to think, what's the opponent's defensive line stitch? What's that look like? And Miles
yeah,
Garrett's going to terrorize Gardner Minshew into making mistakes and continuing to be careless with the football, as he showed when he
yeah,
got to play. I want to be like the biggest Gardner Minshew fan, and I'm going to cheer for the Colts regardless. Um,
yeah, of
but
course.
you are what you do, and what he did the last time he got to play a game is that he was careless with the football. He threw interceptions and fumbled the ball away. And even though he took accountability for that and said, I got to be more accountable with the football, just because you say it doesn't mean it's going to happen.
Yeah,
And instead, you are what you do. So I'm afraid that against a stout defense, like you said, maybe has a few drives in him. But the rumors are things like Braden Smith might be out. He's still questionable. That's an offensive tackle. We kind of got to have one of them. And then
yeah,
obviously, finding out Big Grove ate some sketchy meat. Um, and he's out 6 games. To me, this all it feels like, first of all, Colts in my eyes, if you're going to shut him down, he's going to get surgery now. Now it makes me think about why not just shut him down after the second concussion, given what we saw. A player died on the field last year. Tua kept getting drilled, and that is presumably going to have an effect on his career, just maybe after it. But now that they've sat him for the year, and just to point out, if you think the Colts are better than the we talked about it, 4-12-1 that they put up last year, right now at 3-3. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so
I'm
just a win away from.
I don't know if you're winning another game this year. It's gonna be very hard. Think about, like, you have no athlete at quarterback, and you're missing offensive linemen, and also you have no Grover Stewart. Like, other pieces are gonna break along the way too, and then you're also without any real depth at defensive line. Your offensive line depth shot,
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean, like, just completely busted in the trenches, which is where Chris Ballard says it all goes down, right? So my fear, of course, is attrition, right? And this comes from a Colts fan that got burnt by Andrew Luck, right?
Yeah.
My fear, of course, is attrition, because I think Anthony Richardson came into the NFL as such a phenomenal athlete that I think he'll do that for the next 10 years. Like, I just believe
Yeah.
he's going to be a quality athlete for a long time because he like is one, right? So I'm good shutting him down. And then once you say, like, okay, Anthony Richardson's a blessing, he's going to be just fine for us, and you move to now a Garner Minshew led football team. Like I said, there's people among us that think that they can win a few games. Well, okay, but it ain't this one, and
Yeah,
it
just
ain't
a couple,
ain't an
just.
NFL game. It's probably
Yeah,
not
definitely
happening.
not this one. I mean,
I
they're
don't
good
think they're
enough where
better.
you see it, but they're good enough to the point where you see, okay, yeah, they might get,
The
two, three
Panthers,
wins perhaps here and there. Yeah, you look at the Panthers, you look at the
Ti-
Saints. There are a
Titans,
couple teams, Titans late in the year where you say, hey, might go either way
Falcons.
depending on which team, makes a few mistakes. Which team, wakes up and just plays where you're like, hey, these are 50-50 games where Colts could win. That gets you to what, like 5. If you ask me, the Colts are gonna finish in that 5-7 win, rate, perhaps 5-7. That's what I'm picturing. Of course, with the Jags are playing tonight, but Jags are basically division winners right now, in my opinion,
Mhm.
unless Houston somehow comes out of the blue and gets crazy winning streak, which very well could happen because CJ Stroud looks much better than perhaps some people were expecting. That
Which is
Dolphins is
crazy
looking
because
well.
he is
Yeah,
exactly who I thought he was going to be. Like,
yeah,
the story about um Stroud and going like almost 200 attempts without an interception to start the season made me go back and watch the Ohio State Georgia game where last year, and you really watch and you're like, what do you want a quarterback to do to win a football game? Like, he does everything, he checks all of the boxes. And then
yeah,
he comes in the NFL and he has the worst offensive line situation, even worse than the Colts, and is somehow operating at a high level. But again, he just showed you exactly who he was, is who he's going to be. So I'm worried. I'm just on the opposite. Like, I'm usually like super confident. I know, I think we're going in the right direction. Like, I don't. If you've been paying close attention, Chris Ballard told you teams win through the trenches, and with a big defensive tackle and an offensive tackle questionable, potentially missing games. That's in addition to your starting quarterbacks out for the year, right?
yeah,
And I get it. Every team in the NFL has got injury problems, right? This is a Colts podcast. Um, so yeah, a lot of injuries, not a fun time. to be a Colts fan. I'm
Yeah,
mentally
definitely.
draft season, like already thinking like probably gonna have a top 10 pick. Um,
Yeah, most likely.
I mean, there is a wide receiver that I would like. I would like Marvin Harrison Jr. There apparently are a couple top 10 worthy pick wide receivers in this upcoming draft. So that would be something to keep my eye on. Other than that, like again, like I said, there's been rumors this week the Colts are thinking about trading for Jerry Judy. That doesn't change
Yeah.
my mind on anything, right? And Indy could be the best spot for him, and he could have a career resurgence. Like I told you, what really matters is that we got a bottom 10 in the NFL defensive unit, and we are missing players along the offensive and defensive lines. Like these things stick out as like you just lose football games because of that. Um,
Yeah.
Not to mention this lightning rod for your franchise, Anthony Richardson, who even you'd said if in this upcoming draft the Colts end up with the first overall pick, I might have to trade out because Caleb Williams
Yeah,
should be the
definitely.
first overall person picked in this draft. I'm pretty confident. I mean, I like Penix too, because he did play at Indiana, and I do think that he's the Heisman winner. But he's a lefty and he's small, and it's just like no, it's got to be the presumed follow up to Patrick Mahomes, which is Caleb Williams, pretty much like the next one, right? But yeah, I one of the things that we got to talk about is distribution. Like last week with Jonathan Taylor, I think that was his second game, and then Zach Moss both healthy. You have two really good running backs combined for 15 carries. Like, and we passed the ball like 55 times. I understand that they're behind. I understand that the game was like over by halftime. Um, I was just really like, what are they saving them for? I guess once you shut down Anthony Richardson, it's like
Yeah, you know.
no reason to run anybody into the dirt. I just think
Nah.
you're gonna need everybody else playing at a super high level for your offense to be doing anything. Um, and I think it's mostly because I'm not afraid of Gardner Minshew's deep ball, and I'm not afraid of the Colts'
Nah.
deep game. Um, they're not. I hate if I don't want to be one of those people that says things like Alec Pierce sucks, but like he gets open but it's too late in the route. And then when the ball's there, that ball's out of bounds because you
Yeah.
got separation late in the quarter. Then the QB kind of hesitated on the ball. Um, but I have a feeling. I don't want to say that he sucks, but it feels like he's not there early, and so then they try to like get him a few throws late, and it's like that's where his production's coming from is garbage time.
Yeah,
Hmm.
garbage time, getting those designed looks where you're like, hey, it's clear, the Colts are trying to get that guy involved and it's designed catchy where he's not that productive, he gets a catch, but he can make anything happen after it.
Yeah.
It's not the same, like he's not getting what I think I want to say is he's not getting his catches, organically. We're like, Josh Downs is a guy that just makes sense.
Yep.
He's always open, he has safe hands, he gets it done on third down. I mean, he has shown he can make it down, he can make it on third down. And he fits both with Anthony Richardson as a safety ball and with Garner Minshew, who likes to hit those quick passing, quick releases, and it
Hmm.
just works. Alec Pierce, I was like, hey, it kind of makes sense with Richardson because of the deep ball.
Yep.
And, perhaps those 50-50 balls, or, with Richardson managing to escape the route and the rush, sorry, and extend plays. You're
Hmm.
like, hey, if Richardson can extend plays, that works best with guys like Pierce. Now that Richardson is out, you're like, hey, it's gonna be a tough year for Alec Pierce, most surely. It's
Yeah.
not gonna be fun for him because it just doesn't make too much sense for him, with a guy like Minshew at quarterback. So yeah, I don't know what the Colts are gonna do with Pierce. To be honest, he's getting out targeted by Downs like every single game, where you're like, hey, Downs is getting twice the targets that Pierce is getting.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll just I mean, as the season goes on and Gardner Minshew gets more established in the offense, guess we'll just have to wait and see for now
Yeah.
how that how that translates for the rest of the year.
Mhm.
But so far, it's not been a good sophomore year for for Alec Pierce.
No, not at all. And you're looking at Michael Pittman Jr. on pace for 100 catches. His stock obviously gonna suffer with Anthony Richardson out. More just again, same thought process as I'm not afraid of Garner Minshew's deep ball. He wants to get the ball out quick. He's super accurate in the short area. Um, but he's not also a mid-level thrower either. So he's not hitting the crossers. He's not hitting his drag or his digs, his 10-yard outs on a roll. He's not hitting those. He's not that kind of quarterback. He's gonna have to
Yeah,
pull it and try to make a play, um, and that ends up him throwing a ball where to a spot. And again, I get it. That's what you want your quarterback doing is letting go of the ball before the guy's looking. But I think when you have to, how do I say that? The ball's got to leave your hand earlier because you throw it slower, so it take longer to get there. And that's just a pickable ball, and that's
yeah,
the problem. There's this thing like there's these throws you have to make outside the numbers that I'm also not afraid of Garner Minshew making that throw. So that makes it a lot easier to defend when there's certain things that he just can't he don't have the arm for that. And that's just truth. It's not anything personal against Garner Minshew. It's
yeah,
just
yeah.
like he's got the brain for it. He's even got a little bit of hustle in his body so he can get out of those hairy situations too. But are you really worried about him as a thrower when he's
Nah, yeah,
rolling?
nah,
Nah.
nah.
Are you
He's
worried
not
about
good.
him really, really tearing you up in the run game? No, he's getting like 7 yards and he's getting down or out of bounds. So my concern, of course, with the way defenses have been unloading, um, basically, I figured it out. If your pass rushers are healthy, you blitz and you pressure the opposing quarterback. And if you can take one of their offensive linemen out, that's great, right? Because they're only 46 people dressed. They can't have that much depth. So all we got to do is tear and claw, right? Like, and I'm again never an advocate for like cheating, but I am saying like if for example, how do I think about this? Okay, let's say Bernard Raymond. Bernard Raymond, top 10 tackle in the NFL. Miss a couple games due to a knee. I'm making shit up. Okay. But behind him is goddamn nobody. Hey man, I'm trying to involve his left leg in as many car accidents as I can. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm blitzing people at him. I'm bull rushing him. I'm gonna literally try to make him uncomfortable. Again, this is a hypothetical. He's not
yeah,
been.
yeah,
He's
yeah. Of
not
course.
been. You don't got an injured knee. It's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying think like that, and then be like, oh, and Braden Smith is questionable. Oh, okay. So I'm blitzing your right tackle, no matter who it is. If it's Braden Smith, it's because he ain't practiced enough, and if it's whoever's behind him, it's because well, you're not even Braden Smith, right? So, and again, it's Miles Garrett. So it's just like Miles Garrett from the right side. And again,
Yeah, you just know. Yeah,
I guess that's front side to a right-handed quarterback, so he's supposed to handle that himself. Um, I just think defenses have gotten faster and faster and faster and lower to the ground. And our last week, for the record, for those one, that was like the worst week of football I've ever seen in my entire life. Literally every team I care about lost, and it was like it cemented through the first like I think it's 6 weeks of the NFL season. This is the lowest scoring NFL season in a long time. Same thing with college football. It's because these offenses are getting too gimmicky, and these
yeah,
defenses are just going full speed every down. Again, that's what gives me a great deal of pause. Is because if I'm any team game planning for the Colts, it's like, oh, we could fuck Garner Minshew up, right? Anthony Richardson, he's tough. Like to have a couple instances early in your career, those little concussion instances, I'll always wonder like why not just sit him then. which prevents the shoulder injury to his throwing shoulder. That's tough.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and again, one of the ways that I can always relate to football players, I had a grade 3 AC joint tear when I was in the Marine Corps and had to have my shoulder operated on, and it still bothers me. And if you don't get it, operated on when it happens, it can cause, I have what's called thoracic outlet syndrome. And that's where all that pressure from when I first got hurt and then I kept getting fucking hurt, my shoulder was like hurt bad. And because I didn't treat it, and I just went to work every day instead, eventually the all that pressure damages the nerves in your arm, and
Yeah.
that and so I would much rather shut him down like 5 minutes in and be like, no, no, he's
Yeah, of
fine,
course. Yeah.
but we need to restructure this organization, and that's where my head is, along the lines of like trading for Jerry Judy, which I don't think I would throw much behind that. I'm more of the thought process that he's not somebody you trade for. I'm allowed to be wrong. Um, but I don't think that I trade assets for Jerry Judy based on his production in Denver. Um, and that little interaction with Steve Smith Sr. last week, not a good look.
Yeah.
So I have a issue aiming assets at that. I also don't know that that's what the Colts need right now. Is to pick up a problematic wide receiver.
Nah, yeah, you don't need that in the locker room.
I think that the Colts game plan needs to be more run focused. Holy shit, the most obvious thing you've ever heard in your life, right? I think I
Yeah,
think
you
when you've got two running backs playing at a high level, hey man, that's hard to stop. Like if you can have it, and the only problem is I've been thinking about this all week, brother. You know what the problem is with having two really good running backs? They primarily run a single back, and it limits your versatility in your run game when you only have one running back in the backfield. And even when you put two in the backfield, you're not using one as a lead blocker. So it's this hocus pocus thing, it's not string theory, but it's like they motion the one guy out into the flat, and they go downhill run and try to pull it and throw the little screen in the flat. So, like I said, I'm what I'm looking forward to is figuring out. Okay, Shane Steichen, tons tons of attrition, and you lost your quarterback. Are you here to win games, right? Which in my
yeah.
eyes is get the ball out of Garner Minshew's hand and let somebody else cough it up, because he'll definitely do it. So got a game plan to get the ball out of his hands. I think you got a game plan to be run heavy because you've got most of your offensive line and two good running backs, right? If there's rumors that we're trading for a wide receiver, that tells me that your wide receiver room ain't that good, right? Tell me I'm wrong. Josh Downs is the Colts' best wide receiver,
Yeah.
right? A rookie slot, right, out of University of North Carolina.
Yeah, it's getting I checked it out, for an article. He's fourth he's third in targets right now, and he's behind, Puka Nakua, who's been the focal point of the Rams offense
Mm-hmm.
so far. But Cooper Cup is now back, so we'll see how that turns out by the end of the year.
Yeah.
And after that, it's Say Flowers, who was chosen in the first round. He was one of the highest wide receivers taken,
Mm-hmm.
and he's the number one guy in Baltimore. So you're like, hey, we got Downs. Just for a bit of context, we got Downs in the third round,
Yeah.
and he's already looking like, he's a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
So just, imagine him, who knows, next year, the year after that, back with Richardson. So yeah, he's a good one. We definitely got ourselves a good one on that.
And I mean, I like Michael Pittman Jr., right? It's just the legacy player isn't he should have 4 or 5 touchdowns. You know what I mean? He should be scoring. Like I said, he does have 40 receptions already through 6 games. Um, with a little, like I said, a little less than 7, 8 a game. You know what I mean? So it's not that he doesn't have the volume. is that he's not scoring, and that tells me um, you're you're not great in the red zone, is what I'm getting at. Um, so that tells me that coaching is a factor here, play calling is a factor here. I did want to point out Frank Reich has given up play calling in Carolina. For
Yeah,
those of you following along with my Reich hate, um, is I don't hate him. I can see him struggling for a long time to get all the pieces. That's
yeah,
tough. But that's
yeah. The
that's
thing,
the Panthers and they're coming up. But anyway,
yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah. That what I really just a side note to say what you were saying. Like the only thing I have with Reich is that for me, it's when you need every I mean, for Reich's offense to work, you need a good halfback, you need a good offensive line, you need a receiving tight end, you need two good wide receivers, and you need an amazing quarterback. You need a guy like 2018 Andrew Luck, you need a guy like 2020 Philip Rivers.
Yeah,
If you don't have that, it's like last year, it's like the year before, it's like it's not good. And
yeah,
if you ask me, if you have an offense that needs all that to work, it's not a good offense. I mean, a good offense is one like take out, for example, what the Niners are doing. It don't matter if it's Brock Purdy or Jimmy Garoppolo, whoever is playing, that thing is gonna work.
yeah.
So yeah, that's a good offense in my opinion. That's an offense where you're like, hey, it can work, it can be sustainable
Mm,
without the need to have an elite quarterback, two elite wide receivers, a good offensive line, a good tight end.
yeah.
So yeah, that is always my issue with Reich. I mean, everyone's always saying like, "Hey, he never gets a fair chance. He never gets." And he has been a head coach for what, like now 5 years, 6 years. He made the playoffs, twice, and one was with a prime Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck in his best season as a pro. I'm not saying he's a bad head coach. All I'm saying is he's getting exposed as he's not in the top tier of head coaches. He's
Yeah.
not a top 10 head coach. He's not a top 15 head coach. I mean, we'll see that 0-6 start and the way that Panthers fans are. If you go and search, Frank Reich right now on Twitter,
Mm,
there are not many good things said about him. Like they are just saying, "Hey, this offense sucks. We are not
yeah.
seeing anything. He's ruining our rookie quarterback." Oh yeah, just put that out there because I remember, the last season when Frank was fired, there were a lot of fans saying, "Hey, we shouldn't have let him go. He was the guy. He was a great head coach. He never got a decent chance." Or we want Reich to help develop that rookie quarterback. Hey, check out how he's doing down there in Carolina with his rookie quarterback. And they
Is
have,
that is that his? So I guess that would be my question. Did he advocate
yeah, no, yeah,
for Bryce
that's
Young?
definitely a good point. I mean, if you ask me,
Is that who he
we'll
wanted
never
there?
have, yeah, we'll never have the chance to know that 100%. But if you ask me, from the looks of it, it seemed like the coaching staff wanted Stroud. McCown, there's a video of McCown saying like, "Hey, when we get you down there to Carolina, we can play there."
Yeah,
Or Reich reportedly, saying, "Hey, we're gonna get you."
yeah.
And that owner, I don't know about it, but from what I've read, that owner is really intrusive and he gets in the way a lot making those decisions. So there are reports going out there that the owner stepped in and said, "Hey, you're taking Bryce Young." But I don't want to pile on Frank. Bryce Young is still a really good prospect. He's still a really good quarterback. He's undersized, but he played in Alabama. He guided them to the national championship. I mean, he's a good quarterback. We are not talking about, say, for example, Will Levis. We're like, hey, yeah, poor
Oh, what
Frank
a
Reich. He was
disappearing
given,
act, huh?
yeah, Malik Willis. He's not even second in the depth chart. So yeah, I
You know
mean,
what I think? Somebody said, one of my colleagues asked me about Will Levis. Like he fell off the earth, and I said, "All right, let me, go back and watch his tape and go watch. Here's what I came back with. Are you ready?
yeah,
He took steroids. If you look at his physique during the season and then you look at his physique at the combine, oh, there's no fucking way. You didn't do all that work. You didn't go from thick, sturdy looking even to actually he was like the second most jacked guy there for quarterbacks. Um and then when you watch him throw, so here's how I knew. When I watched him throw, it was like he has the same arm as like 3 other people up here. Like he was supposed to have a gun, and it's just like he doesn't really have more of an arm than these other boys. And oh, by the way, he has a lot of back acne, and he's way more jacked than he was 3 months ago when he played. Oh,
Yeah.
I always say, if my dumbass can like pick that out at the combine, that, oh, he has acne on his back and he looks really jacked, and he didn't during the season. Oh, okay. So this is going to last until you get exposed. Training camp, I'm guessing. Because, like you said,
Yeah.
Malik Willis, who,
Yeah, he's getting.
when he got run last year, wasn't great looking.
Nah, yeah, he
Uh,
was bad. Like you can say it. He was bad. He
not
was really
not
bad.
Anthony Richardson, where you're like, oh,
Yeah.
he can make all the throws. You could build an offense around him. Man, he's really good. He just had some unfortunate incidents. And I was talking to my wife, because my wife is like, so is he doomed? She's talking about Anthony Richardson. And I want to make sure, because I'm sure other people have the same questions. Short answer is probably not. The type of injury that he has that's requiring surgery, usually they say you come back stronger. Because there's just, I'll put it like this: they operate on my arm. My arm's fine, as far as like I could do these exercises. You know what I mean? Like my shoulder,
Yeah.
fine. We can operate on shoulders and get that right. And my surgery was like over 15 years ago. So it's not necessarily that I'm worried about. What I'm hoping, because he didn't learn his lesson after getting thumped a couple times, and he doesn't have a long career where he guided a team to a national championship, right? Where he did all the things it takes to win every game you play in for a year, right? The the reality is he's only getting hurt when he's letting up. So if you don't learn by it happening to you, maybe you'll learn when Gardner Minshew gets ate up. And it happened last week, right? Like I think he had like 5 total turnovers.
Yeah.
Or it could be 4. I could be overstating that. But get it, when Gardner Minshew struggles, there's no one to turn to. And that's what's gonna be rough, is sometimes he's gonna play good enough quarterback to win you the football game. But sometimes in just a few possessions, he's gonna, oh shit, now we're down 24-7. We ain't coming back. And them's the rules, by the way. If you ever wondered, when does Jared think a game is over? A game is over when you're getting beat all day or worse. 24-7 or worse. Because you're down 4 scores. Basically 4 possessions. So yeah. The I I am of the thought process. And again, I want to make sure that like this is mine. I'm on this. I don't think it's good. And in fact, I think they're gonna lose a lot. And I see like a potentially like 2 or 3 wins the rest of the year.
Yeah.
And think about this. What's about that is that that's an, because they were 4-12-1 last year. And like I told you, my at the most, I thought maybe they win 8 games. That was with Anthony Richardson. Now with a Gardner Minshew, it's got to be below 8.
Yeah.
Got to be below 8 games, because otherwise, it's like your every end just kind of defies. I mean, that's the only thing that could be driving the Colts now, is just defying expectation, right? Because it again, I want to make sure I own my statements. For example, I think that, and the reason I think this, I think Grover Stewart didn't do anything wrong, and here's why: he didn't admit it. He took
Hmm.
accountability and he accepted his penalty, but he did not say, I did that shit, or I did not do that shit. So I just want to make sure that I know, we know, hey, if I was an NFL player and I am representing like the bet, and I try to think about, how I would feel. Like I'm the representative of everything good about the community I came from. Then you probably want to like play.
Yeah.
But I think what happens when guys get injured is these guys are invested and emotional and they care a lot. And I think Grover Stewart lost his cool. And another season down the drain, and the Colts couldn't figure out what are we supposed to do with this guy. He's causing a commotion. He's really upset. He's emoting. Let's shut him down for like six
Yeah.
games. Say he did some PEDs or whatever. And the only reason I'm saying that holds any water is because he didn't admit it. Or he didn't deny it either. In the letter he wrote, he apologized for it. He took accountability for it, but he never said I did that shit. And that makes in my brain, I'm like, no, bro. You either say I did that shit or say I did it. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
I that's just and I want to make sure like I'm saying that, I'm suggesting that obviously the Anthony Richardson thing, but it's like look forward and it's like, oh, we were after two and again, I don't know that he ever got declared as having a concussion, but after two instances, right, that got him pulled out of games, and then his shoulder. In my opinion, it's like, oh, I've seen everything I need to see. Clearly, he doesn't learn by taking his lumps. Maybe he learns watching. Shut him down, have him watch the rest of the year. But yeah, I want to make sure that I'm hammering home my because I know there's gonna be people out there that are gonna try to sell you on, like you said, no offense, but like, oh, the Colts can win like 3 or 4 more games. It's like, no, you might win one or two, but like it's gonna be a rough ride. And it's just unfortunate, right? Because
Yeah.
going to this year, there was a level of excitement. It was like, dude, we could be bad. We could be bad as long as you're seeing some growth out of your quarterback. Like, whatever. But I think like you saw enough of it in as little time as you got to like shelf that, see if you can bottle it, right? I want a really high draft pick. And if I'm
Yeah.
pushing the buttons like Jim Irsay, that's what I'd be saying if I was Jim Irsay. Put him on a shelf, give me a wide receiver. Next, I'm gonna go play the guitar. I don't even care what happens. Yeah, 11 weeks. Let's blow through that 11 weeks. I'm telling you, because just think about the next 6 games. No AR, no Grove.
Yeah.
I don't care who you try out there. No QB1, no DT1. Are we winning that game? That's tough.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
just the next 6 games. Then you got 5 more after that. And like I said, people are going to get hurt every week. It's a game of attrition, right? So that's my big concern is like those big domino pieces start to fall, right? Like first AR, then Grove, and then like it's Buck, then it's, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I think if Grove goes down, then Buck might be next because
Yeah. He's already banked up. Yeah.
banged up. And then O line's banged up. Um, and then I'll be worried about like Zaire Franklin, right? Because that defense is gonna be out there a lot, and he's your leading tackler, and it's just like, hey
Yeah. He's
man,
gonna
he
get a
looked
lot of,
good
yeah.
through the first 6 games. This is a 17-game season, and you are the leading. And it's like, can you do that for 17 weeks? And I think about,
Yeah.
like I said,
No way.
I want to think that these guys are representing the best of their communities where they came from, and that every time they go out there, they play their little heart out. Um, but you don't always see that on film, and
Yeah.
and and that's one of the things. That's like the two things in your brain is like you'd hope that they bust their ass every time they're out there, and it's like, do you watch film? Do you watch a specific player?
Yeah.
Okay, and then you're gonna learn everything you need to know about them. And that's my fear is guys start making good long-term decisions for themselves.
Yeah. Business decisions. Yeah.
Yeah, business decisions as we like to call them. And that would be what ultimately holds me back from saying anything along the lines of Colts are going to win some football games the rest of the year. It's like, no, nope. Until I see a good game plan where I'm like, that's good game planning and strategy, right? Like because the reason I say we ain't winning another game, look at the strategy last week. Let's have a backup quarterback throw 55 times, and then you try to sell me on a good game plan. I don't think so. That's not a good game.
Yeah.
That's how you lose one-on-one. So yeah, we've riffed ad nauseum about the Indianapolis Colts, and it is almost that time, my man. In 5
Yeah,
days,
the season's getting close.
the NBA regular season starts, and
Yeah, we're basically, almost there.
yeah. I was gonna say just a few days ago on the 16th. So when was this?
Monday, yeah.
Yeah.
Just,
Oh yeah, Monday. I couldn't watch it. Um, I'm excited for the Pacers because they're young. That is
yeah.
a pretty young squad. And I know that it's preseason. So if anybody listens to this and they're like, but Jared, it was a preseason game. Cool, man. Great story. They had a 43-point quarter and outscored the defense. Well, they basically outscored the opponent by 30 points in a quarter. It was 43-15. And I'm a numbers cat. That's like things that I think about. And what happens in a quarter of NBA basketball is 2 rotations. So this means like it kind of depends how the first quarter went, but like your starters might start the quarter, and then like 3-4 minutes in, you're gonna get a break, and then you're gonna try to get your starters back in towards the end of the second quarter and into the half, right?
Yeah.
So to play through your rotations and have all those units playing at a high level, scoring when you're out of breath, really hard to do. So just having enough energy to shoot a basketball, and what's great about it is that the Colts have a lot of 3-point shooters.
Yeah.
So when the ball is going in at a high, you're going to score a million points. And again, I think that's what it takes. It's funny. You got to score more points than the opponent. That's what it takes to win basketball games. Is you got to score more points than your opponent. But more specifically, it's important to point out that the reason that you get to just say that it was a preseason game is because the Pacers only ended up winning by 4.
Yeah, by 4 after being up by what, like 20?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, they basically outscored the opponent by 30 points in a quarter and only won that game by 4. So that would be the concern, right? And it's something that Nick Saban was talking about on Pat McAfee's podcast about letting external factors affect your effort.
Yeah.
And so if I have, and like I said, part of me wants to apply that to the Colts. But like I said, it's just really difficult to do that when you're missing like the first and third most important. I don't know how you number them,
Yeah.
but like the first and third most important person
Yeah.
on this team.
Yeah, it's Tyrese and Miles.
So yeah, the Pacers look to take another step and become a playoff team with this young roster is a good goal. And I get to say that on the back of last year they won 10 more games than the year prior. And then they didn't give up any major pieces. And I think that anytime you have 2 first-round picks, there's a potential that you just kind of go off, right?
Yeah.
Because your front unit, your first unit out there is your more veteran unit, your more stable unit, and then when they need a break, these young boys get in there and run the floor. You'd be difficult for just about anybody to handle for all 48 minutes. So I'm definitely
Yeah, I'm
super
excited about it. Yeah.
super excited about the Pacers because
Yeah.
unlike the Colts, where if the Colts have especially like a lineman go down, there's not a lot behind that,
Yeah,
right?
right now you have that and hopefully, next week. Yeah, next week we'll already be with some, NBA games under our belt for us
Oh
to
yeah.
discuss about
Oh
the
yeah.
NBA season. So that's always gonna be exciting in the face of Anthony Richardson's
He'll be
injury.
like, Colts suck. The Pacers are awesome. Like
Yeah. Yeah, so
uh
that's at least, a ray of hope.
It is, man. Because like I said, I just try to be realistic when I talk about sports. We put this podcast out on our own, right? And
Yeah,
a lot of people that are gonna sit and talk about their team that they root for, they're in denial, and they're gonna sit and tell you over the course of 45 minutes to an hour about how many games this Colts team is gonna win the rest of the year. And I'm just afraid that the numbers don't say that, my man. In fact,
yeah,
one of the things that I'm getting kind of tired of is I'm getting tired of seeing my backup quarterback. I don't want to see you. I don't want to have the best backup in the NFL, right? I just want to start it that plays 17 games. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
when we're not getting that, we're in for a rough ride, my man. But like I said, give us a week.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good one. Yeah,
NBA games start. I'm excited about the Pacers. I like it when things are fresh and new. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Haven't played a game yet. Uh, and of course we'll see. Obviously, Milwaukee looking real tough out of the East. Just gonna
yeah. We'll
throw that out
see.
there.
Yeah,
Gonna throw that out there.
yeah.
But yeah,
So yeah,
I'm good. You good?
yeah. I'm good.
All right. Well, hey,
Yeah,
this has been the Cultist Season 2, Episode 6, about Anthony Richardson. I think is a good
yeah. And
title.
the
About
NBA. Yeah,
Anthony Richardson in the
yeah.
NBA season
And the
start.
NBA season starting.
Yep. Have a great week. Enjoy the games. We'll
And
see you
see
at
you
the
all
next week's
next
game.
week.
See you, buddy.